Very excited to introduce Alex. James and I got to see Alex give a talk in San Francisco, and we said, Alex is a pretty serious guy. He's written numerous books. He's an award-winning author. His books have been made into movies. He's also an honorary colonel in the 116th Infantry Regiment of the 29th Infantry Division. He's a very dynamic speaker and very, very deep in the topics that he talks about, which is mostly around World War II, especially what the U.S.'s role is in that. And his accent will surprise you once he starts talking, probably. So with that, Alex, please, my hand over to you. I'll take you over your time.
I received an email and there was an hint that I should talk a little bit about leadership. So I went on Google. I did use AI on Google and started thinking about this. What are the qualities of leadership? And I'm going to try and give you an example of somebody that was given a matrix every single minute that he was in combat. And this gentleman was in combat for over 500 days. From the very first day that the Allies began to liberate Europe until the very end. Every day, an infernal matrix. How do I make decisions, good decisions, that keep more of them alive than yesterday? And that's the story of Felix Sparks. I interviewed him on his deathbed as 89 years old. I've interviewed over 200 World War II veterans, some from the pivotal moments of the most pivotal event in world history, which is World War II. And he was by far the most impressive, the most accomplished leader I've ever met. 89 years old, angry, outspoken, a huge soul, still had massive spirit. And he said to me, my job in World War II was pretty simple, and it was really easy to get promoted. All you had to do was stay alive and get the basic job done. But my essential job was to get young Americans killed every single day. I'd like to math right, and I'm sure that because of this international audience, we have somebody that can understand those words. That means work will set you free. It's a Nazi lie, a National Socialist lie, but those are the words that would reach you if you were sent to the first and most notorious concentration camp in Nazi Germany. Founded less than 6 weeks after Adolf Hitler came to power. That's why he's to Dachau. And here is the young American officer who had the great honor and privilege to liberate the most notorious concentration camp in Nazi Germany in April of 1945. Felix Sparks, born in Arizona, born, and it is not a cliche to say this, in abject poverty. His father was an unemployed miner. He had 4 siblings. Worked hard, learned from an early age to be self-reliant. Learned from when he could walk that nothing would be given to him. Learned when he was 10 years old that if he didn't get up in the morning and go hunting and shoot something that his family could eat, he and they would starve. Smartest guy in his high school in Miami, Arizona. Wanted to become a lawyer. Loved history. When he was 18 years old, he graduated from his high school and he was the high school valedictorian. Today, you would have a bright future. But we're talking about the Depression. When I should remind you, in the Midwest, 3/4 of Americans depend on some form of government assistance to survive. Roosevelt was indeed a great president. Father one day he said, get in the come with me. Took him down to the rail yard and looked him in the eye and said, you see that rail car over there? That's where you're going. I can't afford to feed you. Goodbye, son. 2 years across America, height of the Depression. A hobo army of over 1 million homes, back and forth for 2 years, looking for a job, looking for a purpose in life. Gets to San Francisco, walks along Market Street, and there's a guy in uniform. The guy is an army recruiter. Sparks walks past him. Nah, I'm not going to join the army. I don't want to join it. Walks on 40, 50 yards, turns back. You know what? I'd like to bet tonight. I'd like to see. I'm tired. Takes a token from the army recruiter, goes to Angel Island, joins the US Army. 1936. In 1936, the US Army was federally limited. Think about this, 175,000 men. No more. America never wanted to go to war again. They limited federally beside the mission. He was given his choice. Where do you want to serve? So, you know what? I'll go to Hawaii. Goes to Hawaii. Serves there for 2 years, does his job, and he's resourceful. In the lexicon of good leaders, you have to think ahead. Not just about survival, the spot. He thinks ahead. And he thinks, how am I going to put myself to college? How am I going to be a lawyer? And he starts a photography business on the side, Hawaii, taking pictures of GIs so they could send them home as postcards for their families. Makes a stash, takes that stash, comes back to the US, and puts himself into the University of Arizona. Resourcefulness, thinking ahead. He said that when he left San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge was third complete. And when he came back from Hawaii 2 years later, it was completed. And there is a beautiful photograph. I'm a romantic, a bit of a romantic, and a sentimentalist. And one of the things I'm going to really miss about the greatest generation, as they are known, it's cliche, but they were great, is their humility, their grace, their resilience, and their courage, and images like this of young love in a different time. There's Felix Sparks of the University of Arizona, 1941, and there's Mary Sparks, his future wife. They will be married for over 65 years. Those of you who have studied Shakespeare, maybe some lines are here, know the art might as well. So those of you who have studied Shakespeare, then perhaps which play this is, looking to the side in Rise for which play. We have a guest here? Thank you, sir. Isn't it beautiful? That's how you wooed women that are in 1941. You didn't go on Ombel or Tinder. That line could not be understood. 1941, he is in uniform. It's a beautiful image of them when they got, just after they got married. Pearl Harbor, 1941, December 1941, you guys, or I say you guys, I mean the Americans in the audience, and in fact the entire world becomes involved eventually. Only one continent on this fragile planet where World War II did not take place, and that's Antarctica. But in terms of Americans in the audience, this is the first day after Pearl Harbor that Americans actually started to kill and be killed to liberate Europe. And I'm including Sicily in Europe. This is July 1943. There is one of the finest CEOs, manager of men in crisis that you'll ever see, George Patton. A superb, brilliant pilot, and a hothead, and a bully, and an egomaniac. But the best pilot the US military has had in the 20th century, I would argue, on an army level. 250,000 employees. Brilliant. And that's in Gela in Sicily. It's the day after the Allies have landed in Sicily to begin to liberate the beautiful continent of Europe, from which I come, from the most pernicious and industrially sophisticated evil in human history. And that's Nazism. The last time that Felix saw Mary, she was so pregnant, this was in Austin before he came over to Europe with the 45th Infantry Division as the captain. Last time he saw his wife, she was so pregnant that he had to put his arms around her like this on the harbour in Boston before he left. And so when he was in Sicily as an executive officer in a company, E Company, 157th, 45th Infantry Division, where he was in Sicily, she sent this photograph to him so that he can see his newborn son. It would be 3 long years before he actually held that child in his arms. November 1942, Allies landed in North Africa. Sicily, July 1943, second amphibious invasion. Salerno, southern Italy, September 1943, number 3. Fourth time that US troops, 3rd Division, and the 45th Division were in amphibious invasion was at Anzio in January of 1944. Look at the images, or rather look at the faces in this image. When I go into high schools, I ask them, do you know anything about World War II? And hardly anybody puts their hand up. And then I say, look at this guy here. I don't patronize them by saying kid, but that is a kid. Average age of an American killed in World War II was 22. Average age of replacements coming into this battle here is 18 to 19. You graduate high school, basic training, you're on a ship, out of landing craft, and then you're walking into combat. The guy at the front here could be literally 18. Their average lifespan in combat on the line was about 3 months. Only one way home. Either you got $1 million wound or you're in a coffin. And the $1 million wound means that you can't fight on. You've lost a leg, an arm, your testicles. You can't fight on. You can't be put back into the ring right. So we talk about leadership and decisions. Those are made on both sides, obviously. And if you get it wrong as the leader in combat, that's what happens. A lot of people get killed. Those are dead Germans, and they are at a place called the Caves at Anzio, about an hour south of Rome. Mid-February 1944, during the Battle of Anzio, which lasted about 3 months, Sparks, as E Company commander, went into combat with 200 young Americans, 200 beating hearts, human beings, under his command. During the Battle of the Caves, the Germans surrounded his company, E Company, and over 2 weeks he fought from a series of man-made caves. These are Germans that have been killed by a machine gunner who was based on top of the caves who I interviewed 12 years ago. After 2 weeks, E Company had been reduced to just 12 men. 24-year-old company commander, 200 men a few weeks ago, now he's down to 12. He's given a command. You will try to break out from the German encirclement and get back to your lines. Sparks tries to do exactly that. He gets back to Allied lines. There's only 1 or 2 men on the company that he commanded who will survive. So when we talk about leadership, I came across this example of something that you're supposed to do when you're in the trenches, when you're managing crisis, when it feels like you're a ninja on your own, whatever that might be. One of the things that's really important, apparently, is emotional control. Is to stay calm, to not to freak out. I asked her, so I'd like to ask you, how would you cope with being 24 years old? I mean, the commander of 200 men that did everything you asked them to do in a split second. In combat, you don't have time to discuss a single thing. You do what you're told. You perform like an automaton. You are a robot. Hopefully, you've been really well trained. Because that's the main. How does it feel to be a 24-year-old and have lost your entire company? How do you manage that? Greet and then carry. Because you're still an awful long way from Berlin. There's Sparks on the right here. I can only find one photograph of him from that period, March of 1944. Still right there. This is the image of the reality of leadership in war. I would ask you to think about being the 3rd Infantry Division Commander, 53-year-old Lucian Prescott, a great name in the annals of combat leadership, in the annals of leadership. He was the commander of the 3rd Infantry Division, and the 3rd Infantry Division on the 26th of May, 1944, set a record. And that was 932 men from that one division were killed in one day to break out of the German settlement at Anzio, a battle that most people have never heard. 932 men in one day lost from the division to break out of the settlement. Largest number killed from any one unit in World War II. Sparks is here on the far left over here. The photograph actually shows him with a slowly, his trying to smile. And this is July 1944. He's been in 3 amphibious invasions. He's now been either in combat or near combat for over 350 days. He's trained his troops for what will be his 4th amphibious invasion. And by now, he's been promoted. As he said, all you got to do in World War II to rise up the chain of command to get to the top of the echelon is stay alive and get the job done. Earlier on, someone said something about leadership being greatest output leadership is to, when you decide that policy is to actually go to the people right up front, the front line, and show them that you're there. That's crucial, certainly in the war. And get them to see that you care, and then they'll follow you. And that's exactly what Sparks did in World War II. He told me, just before he died, 6 months before he died, that the thing that he was most proud of in his life, and this guy became a very successful prosecutor. This guy was a commanding general of the Colorado National Guard. This is an exceptional human being, an outlier. So the thing that he was proudest of, the single thing that he was most proud of, was leading 200 men in combat. He said, you get larger than that, you don't know their name. You don't know the wives' names. You don't know what they like for breakfast. You can't pick the weak ones and encourage them. You don't know them, so how can you lead? Because when the chips are down, they need to trust you and they need to know who they are. You need to take the football player who's a bit of a bruise, and you need to put him at the back of the platoon. That's how I was scouting patrol. So that guy can basically kick the ass of anybody that even looks like they're going to turn away and retreat. You need to manage each individual so they will get up in the morning and they will advance and fight and chip. Or at the very least, they will not stop others from doing so by creating problems. Because the mission is simple. You get up every day, you move to the enemy, and you kill as quickly and effectively as you possibly can. 4th amphibious invasion, 15th of August 1944, 6 weeks after D-Day in Normandy. This is a beautiful photograph. It's a truly beautiful photograph because it shows the new world. The new world coming back to one of the most beautiful places in the old world. But some of these kids have relatives that were Italian. Some of these kids have parents who were Italian, Wolf German. They're coming back from the US, coming back to Europe from the US, and they're chasing the Germans through Provence. This is one of the most beautiful places you can go on the planet, I believe. I was there since recent. Small town, Portraying in Provence. Washing, bathing, in ancient battles. This young man here probably reading a letter from his parents or his girl. Who knows, it may be the last Anthony. I'm going to speed up here. Don't worry, we're all halfway through. Two things to notice about this photograph. In terms of being adaptable under pressure as a leader, that pistol says it all. Or rather, it doesn't say anything at all, because it was useless. Standard issue Colt 45 given to American officers in World War II. Sparks described it as a pea shooter. When he was at the front, leading from the front, because that's the only place you could be to be an effective leader, even Patton was in a jeep at the front as often as possible. If he got jumped by Germans, the pistol would maybe take out one or two, if he was lucky. Useless. Pea shooter. So in southern France, his men found in the shotgun, and they saw at the end of it. And then he knew that Sparks was a great hunter from when he was a kid. And he became known as Shotgun Sparks. It is if I'm standing here from you over here, and I have a shotgun, I can take out most of you and pepper most of you with bullets. You know not a problem. Shotgun Sparks. Under the grip on the pistol is a photograph of Mary, his wife. And below that pistol is one of the most important symbols of any liberators carried in World War II. It's the thunderbird. The 45th Infantry Division patch is the thunderbird. Over 1,500 Native Americans in that division, the largest any US division in World War II. So imagine the potency, the symbolism of being a Native American, as American as you can get, carrying a patch of the thunderbird, which means to Native Americans two things. If you are evil, the bearer of that patch will deliver justice. If you are the oppressed, if you are enslaved, the bearer of that patch will set you free. 45th Infantry Division patch. Moving on towards Germany now, the Third Reich. This is Breitbart. I couldn't find it. No one's heard it. It's on the border in Germany. January 1945. The smoke in the distance is from phosphorus. We used anything we could. I'm talking about Allied forces in World War II. We used any weapon, any device that we could develop quickly enough or that would be instantaneously effective to destroy the enemy in World War II. This is phosphorus. A little piece, I'm not a technician, I'm not a scientist, you can correct me, but I was told that a piece of phosphorus the size of my fingernail here would burn through a human being in a couple of seconds. Imagine a shell full of phosphorus exploding a civilian village like this. You're looking at like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I probably don't, but anyway, let's carry on. That explodes. The reason why I've shown this photograph is because it demonstrates the desire, the passion with which we pursued the end goal, which was the defeat of Nazi Germany. Sparks, when he got to Germany, the order would be given, pull out the sheets, pull out the white blankets, either you surrender or we level your town. We were not messing around. In late January 1945, as a battalion commander, he now has 800 men under his command, not 200, 800 men under his command. SS, the Waffen SS, that's the shit stuff. These are the elite of Hitler's killers. SS also were the mass murderers that killed in the summer of 1944 two human beings, two Jewish human beings from Hungary every single second. The greatest, most effective mass slaughter of human beings committed by other human beings of history. Different branches of the SS, but the Waffen SS are the troops, the ground troops, and they still are on Sparks' battalion in May 1945, 800 guys, and over a week, one night after the other, they degrade that position, which ran for about a mile along the ridge line. Each night, attack a different part of it, create maximum psychological terror. After a week, only two men from the town survived. In Anzio, 200 men lost, and now 4 times as many. They turned them in 1945. Sparks did his best to try and rescue some of his men. It was thought that he should have received the Medal of Honor if he commandeered a tank, grabbed 4 or 5 guys off the ground, they're wounded, and then brought it back to his own lines. But the point is that he's lost 200 at Anzio, and now he's lost 4 times that bit. Again, how do you carry it? How do you continue with that sense of failure and that grief? Here we have a photograph of love. Great leaders in combat care deeply about the men who die for. The reason why we were able to endure, why young people could endure the unimaginable, is because of the grip that you see there between a young thunderbird, a baby dying, and his buddy, gripping, holding on to life. But their reality was limited to just the 4 or 5 people around their squad. And the love they showed to each other was so profound. Veterans I've interviewed have said that they loved the guys living in foxholes more than they did their own lives. That bond was extraordinary. And it was the bond between those men who were led by others that got the job done. April 29th, 1945, I began with that image like Matt Fryer. This is on the outskirts of Dachau, on to closely camp. Over 30,000 human beings are in this camp. I'll turn on take what Matty talked about. Over 50 nationalities. Nazism had a great enormous enemies. Over 2,500 Catholic priests. This is Icon. They are the spearhead of a battalion, a task force that Sparks would lead, called Task Force Sparks. Had a very important job. And back Sparks said that I actually got promoted to the best job we could possibly have if you were an American soldier in World War II. Because it's my job, the task force commander, you go to the Southern Germany and hunt down adult bit. Go down to the Alps and find it. And Sparks said, if I found it, I would take him back. I would slit his throat. So, very slow. So he's received an order at 8 o'clock in the morning to divert this task force away from his objective to a place called Dachau. He had no idea where it was. What's that? Maybe it's a prisoner of war. He's positioned because he is a good leader. He's positioned maybe 40 yards behind these guys here, always close to the front, because that's when you come out best. That's when you give an order that's simple, crisp, and immediate. That's when you can make the most of it. And these are the spearhead for his task. Around about 11 o'clock in the morning, the first thing we came across were a series of boxcars, which are known today as the death train. 2,000 dead human beings. Sparks said that it was the only time in the war, and this is, we think, his 501st day in World War II. Only time in the war where he lost control, where his command broke down, where his leadership skills uttered. And that's because the scenes they saw, as he told many people, were beyond human imagination. How could human beings do this to others? 2,000 dead people on that train that's come from Buchenwald, 2 weeks without water, without food. Almost all of them died. The thing that sets Felix Sparks off, and I won't say triggered because that's too woke, but the thing that made him collapse at his knees as vomit was the sight of a dead body, not dissimilar to that, in front of him. And he looked at the head, and he realized that what happened was after 2 weeks of hell, someone had the strength to crawl up there, an SS car walked him up and stamped on that survivor's head. He drops to his knees, he vomits, he cries. And the men he's leaning around him also cry, scream in shock. And slowly that mix, that volatile mix of emotions, of disbelief, turns to rage. That's inside one of the boxcars. When I go to schools and I say, what is that a picture of? They try and tell me, and I say, that's a picture of racism. Sparks looked into a boxcar, very similar to that, except that there was a 15-year-old girl on top of the pile of bodies, and she had her eyes open, red hair. And he said later on, I looked into her eyes, I'll never forget how she looked back at me. And as if she was saying to me, what took you so long? Why did you have to fight Sicily? Why did you have to fight up the mountains of spine with? Why did it take 4 ambitious days? Why didn't you get here sooner? Because then I'd be alive. And what's forgotten about the liberation of Europe from that most sophisticated of evils is that every day the liberators were held up, more people died. There were millions of Europeans counting on others to arrive. That's a kennel in the middle of Dachau. Dachau is a concentration camp, but the concentration camp was within a larger complex. So when the SS, in their great boredom, when they wanted to play, they wanted to have ambition, rabats, a little bit of fun, they would take inmates, particularly recalcitrant inmates. Could be social democrats, could be communists, not many Jews. The Jews were at the death camps, not the labor camps. And they would tie them to a cross, and then they would give a reverse command, and one of the 122 dogs in Dachau would rip off, if they were male, their testicles. Sparks has given a tour by an inmate of various places like this within Dachau. And when the thunderbirds under his command discovered what happened in this camp, they went to the shop, every single one of those 122 dogs, except for one who wouldn't die. Literally, a devil dog. And so a thunderbird, the decent thing, pulled out a knife and slit him dog strike. There are thousands and thousands of dead corpses lying everywhere throughout Dachau, turning blue in the crisp spring sun. Part of the Dachau complex was an infirmary. And unbelievably, in that infirmary, there were SS veterans. Not concentration camp guards. They weren't done. They'd fled. But these men you see here have been rounded up from an infirmary, and they are veterans of the Eastern Front, washed from the SS. The thunderbirds walk into the infirmary and they see these blonde-eyed, blonde-haired, blue-eyed young Aryans lying on the crisp white sheets, windows open, stench of death. How dare you? They round them up, and then they put them here. So, this is an image of the most notorious American war crime in the European theatre in World War II. One thing to note about this photograph is that it's a coal yard, but there's no coal in the coal yard because SS have used every last lump of black to try and burn the evidence. That's why there's no coal. Second thing to note about the photograph are the 3 Nazis, the 3 uber racists belonging to the SS, who are standing against the wall. At this, these are proud Germans. These are proud racists. And they're not going to jump into the dirt, pretend to be dead. They're going to stand there and tell you like true Nazis. Shoot me, stand there. Sparks has left his men guarding those that were found in the infirmary. And when Sparks is outside the coal yard, actually in the building not far away, beyond the wall, one of his officers, one of his junior officers, gives the command. Open fire. Kill them all. And that's exactly what these young men have done. So we talk about moments in the trenches when you wage a campaign to succeed at anything. What do you do with a 19-year-old here that's lost his best buddy a couple of weeks ago, that's surrounded by death and is told to open fire? He's spraying them with a machine gun. There are at least 12 Germans there dead, at least 24 wounded. All the others on the ground are pretending to be dead. The question is, where's Sparks? Where's their leader? Where's the CEO of this atrocity? And he wasn't in Howard. He's in a building just like this. But he said, after the war, this is not accurate. Because the building I went into, the bodies were there from the floor to the rafters. You couldn't put a single extra human being in. He goes firing pistol shots, M1 rifles, the machine gun, and he runs back into the cold. This is 501st with the name of leadership, of trying to achieve something that is the most important achievement, I believe, in US history. Much more important than kicking us out in over 200 years. Now, I'd like you to think about, and I'm going to end this in I'd like you to think about these themes about leadership, decision-making under stress, being at the front, loving others, showing that you care about, responsibility, crisis, thinking, resilience, not feeling sorry for yourself. I want you to think about that and go back into your careers so far. You guys have had great careers. Go back into your careers and think about the darkest moment, the hardest moment, the time when you felt most aware in leadership. And think about the decision you most proud of. I'm going to say to you, if I could take that moment, that memory, and I could show you what it looked like. Would it look like that? This is an image taken from a motion picture film, picture camera, the signal call guy with a film camera actually in the cold. And he films Sparks as he runs back into the courtyard, and then these images I'm going to show you are stills from that film. This, to me, is an extraordinary moment of leadership. It's the greatest I've ever seen. I felt that it's just going to need the guy. This is leadership. This is integrity. This is emotional self-control. Number 7 on my short list of qualities you need to have to be an effective leader. Regulate your emotions. This is the ultimate in regulation. Because that's the Sparks holding out sporting art, the pea shooter with a picture of the woman who was. The woman he wants to stay alive for on the boat. And he pulls out the 45 and he fires it. And look at what he does. Bang, 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 bang. 4 shots. Hand boots 4. Bang, 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 bang. Number 4. Hand boots 4. Stop. Stop. What would you do? He's lost 200 men to the Germans at Anzio. A couple of months ago, 800 to the SS. And those are the guys that have just been shot by us. He shouts, stop. And that's what every good officer should do. And I have given this talk at West Point, at the Air Force Academy, who invited me there to talk to cadets to show them that there is a point at which you have to stop, where you can't human, where you can't just allow death to continue all the time. He said, I was sick of killing. I was sick of being debased. I had not got all the way to the gates of Dachau to end up just like them. I was not going to be a beast. Stop. It's the right thing to do. It's what a great leader would do. emotional. And that's the result. That's the result of sacrifice. Those are the profits from leadership as a liberator in World War II. You got to give countless people another life. These are the liberators from Dachau. Over 30,000 from, I'll stress again, 50 nationalities. That's what happens when you allow natural forces to take their course, when you don't lead, when you don't have respect for those you body. That's the inmate about to do, if you imagine, to a concentration. This is the journey. Very few people left alive today who made it. 16 million in uniform from the US. I'm not going to be too pro-US, but it's worth stating as large in the US. 16 million served in uniform. 130,000, less than 130,000 breathing as I speak today. They're dying at 130 every day. Soon that generation will be no more. This is a remarkable achievement. This is the greatest achievement, I believe, in US history. And I'm alive. North Africa, Sicily, Italy, southern France, right to the heart of dance and death. The journey of the 157th Infantry Regiment that Felix Sparks belonged to. Over 2,500 men became casualties in his regiment while he was a leader on his command. And there are the warriors. These are the men that he met. These are the guys that would have died for him. And then he did. Only one of them alive here, a guy called Guy Pasteur, was a machine gunner and a waterman. Literally carried a mortar from the beaches of Sicily in July 1943 all the way to Dachau. Only one of this amazing group of guys. Photographs taken by my best friend 12 years ago, only one left alive. Those are guys that got the job done. Those are the guys that if you were a good leader, you joined them at the front. They knew that you would give your life for them and then give their life for you. That's an image of an amazing team. A very productive, well-led, extremely efficient, loyal, fantastic team. So, I have finally come to an end, but I'd like to leave you with this. And this is going to be anti-climax. I'm kind of joking, but I'm really. The 7 things that I was supposed to bear in mind, that you can laugh or smile. Effective communication. Getting out of the foxhole, do that, do this, or you're dead. That's effective communication. Accountability and responsibility. We're accountable for lives. Long-term thinking, get out of poverty, live a life yourself. Absolutely. Motivation, absolutely. If you weren't motivated, you'd have nothing. That's what that generation learned. They were given nothing. They were given less than nothing. Confidence. To lead men towards death and women today, you have to be supremely confident, but not a bullshit. Because you can't show weakness. Akin to fear in your eyes, akin to doubt, you don't. Game over. Why would they trust you for a second with their life if you're not confident about the outcome? Or at least you're going to tell them, trust me, I'll do my best. I know you're probably going to die. But while you're alive, I'm going to give everything I've got to do my best to make decisions that will maybe keep you alive. People orientation. This is the golden you could find on Google for leadership. You have to be able to get on with people. You have to trust you. You have to have a heart. If I know that you will cry about that, that you care about. And emotional stability. Last point. I've gone on way too long. I once interviewed a veteran who was in the Normandy campaign. And he said to me that I was a first lieutenant I was 20 years old. My company commander came over to me and my men and said, here's the deal. This is the deal. You guys are already dead. Quit worrying about tomorrow and whether you're going to make it. Statistically, the likelihood, as you know, is that you're going to be dead. So forget about it and get the job done right now and do it right. It's the most important job on this planet. That's a different definition of leadership. A different definition of what it takes to win a company. I wish all of you very, very best. I hope that I have said a few things that might remind you resilience, courage, leadership, and what a wonderful job you are clearly all doing simply this way today. Thank you for being on the board.